Let's take a look at a fairly recent video by a vegan activist named David Rams of egregious clickbait thumbnail title fame.
Why not tell people they'll get all these health benefits if they just go vegan? Well, for starters, it's just plain wrong. I'm going to use the latest viral trend of posting AI selfies, this disturbing poll by Mr. Beast, and a famous bodybuilder who just quit veganism to explain why the Go Vegan for Health message doesn't really make sense, but also kind of does.
This should be interesting. I'd like to know how a person takes a nutritionally deficient way of eating and proves that it's healthy. Before we get into it, I could fathom that it's by having a really shitty view on what it means to be healthy.
Don't miss the end of the video because I'm going to share an opinion with you that's pretty controversial, and make sure to get involved in the comments. Documentaries like The Game Changers, a movie featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and some of the world's top plant-based athletes showed the world that the plant-based diet isn't only healthy, but can fuel world-class athletic performance.
I find this wholly unimpressive. Athletes like Arnold not only come from a background of eating meat, but also of steroid use. What good does it do me, or my understanding of human performance, to hear how an omnivorous bodybuilding human, doped up on drugs or powders, fares when they purport to have stopped eating animal products? None? Would none good be apt?
And it's not the only big documentary out there promoting the health benefits of the plant-based diet. So now, a lot of vegans are trying to get other people to go vegan for health reasons. Which actually makes sense when you look at the recent AI selfie photo trend. Millions of people have been uploading AI-generated selfies showing their face and body, usually looking way better than they actually look. It costs like $5 for the basic package, and it goes up higher and higher depending on how many photos you want. No shade on the people who've been doing that. That's totally up to you, but it does say a lot about the society we live in, doesn't it?
Yes, I also find it curious how people who purport to have such great lifestyles are always so fake. It teaches you a lot about who to give the time of day to and who to brush off. If vegans were more transparent, I would trust them a lot more. But people who have things to sell, an agenda they push that is antithetical to a personal goal that I have, or who can't stop presenting themselves in unrealistic ways, I have no time for them.
And what about this Mr. Beast poll? He asked the question, would you take $10,000 if some random person had to die for it? Over 833,000 people said yes. People are more self-obsessed and just generally uncaring about others. At least that's what it looks like. But how is any of this relevant to the Go Vegan for Health message and whether that's good or not? If people are more self-obsessed than ever before, appealing to their selfish nature is a good way to get them to do something good.
Can't argue with that.
Vegans say stuff like, go vegan, you'll have more energy, you'll have a lower risk of getting cancer, you'll be able to reverse heart disease and diabetes. The last one's a bit unrealistic, but the other two are totally possible. Why not tell people they'll get these amazing benefits if they just go vegan?
Because it's misleading and false? But I guess if you're a slimy misanthrope who is actively working to ensure the downfall of mankind, it's right up your alley. Also, I'm glad he admitted that a diet high in carbs, which are extraneous in the human diet, and seed oils, which are commonly used to replace real fat in the diet of a person who was brainwashed into thinking that saturated fat is bad for you when this has never actually been proven, being able to reverse the very diseases they are likely causing is unrealistic.
I want to make something perfectly clear. Veganism helps animals. A lot. If you don't want to put animals through literal hell on earth in a slaughterhouse by someone who really could not care less for them, go vegan.
Veganism doesn't help anything. Wait, let me take that back. It helps people with the mental fortitude of a toddler feel better about themselves for doing things they have deluded themselves into thinking is actually helping animals when it comes to the human diet. David is one of those vegans who laughs in the face of the crop deaths argument. How or why are these deaths any different from the deaths animals experience when we kill them to eat them? I can name a very big difference. When an animal dies for us to eat it, a number of human beings can be properly fed even for a short period of time. We get a healthy dose of bioavailable protein, as well as saturated fat for energy, and cholesterol that can help make up for any deficits in our bodies. The natural animal fat has fat-soluble vitamins. This entire process allows the body to perform its natural functions properly without disruption from the influence of plant matter. And I'm pretty sure this is what we're aiming for when we're considering nutrition and health. When animals die for us to get plants, on the other hand, we get an inferior source of energy, inferior nutrition, a false sense of having done something good, and a megadose, especially if you're vegan, of heavy plant-based toxins. So not only are we harming the environment, because many of these foods are monocrops, and monocrops are terrible for the environment, we're also harming animals by destroying their habitats, using pesticides, and flat out clapping them in a field to stop them from eating our food. On top of all of this, it's bad for the human body. Of course, a lot of this depends on if you believe the shoddy science that says red meat, saturated animal fat, and cholesterol are bad for you, and that carbs, grains, fruits, vegetables, and seed oils are good for you. If you prioritize animal welfare when it comes to making judgments about nutrition, things are bound to go wrong. So telling people the diet is healthy in the face of this is irresponsible. If you just want to know the truth and you don't let bias get in your way, you are more likely to be able to accept the truth no matter where it places you, even if it means eating animals. And the advice you give in turn is more likely to be appropriate for someone who cares about their health.
So now that's taken care of, why not tell people they'll get all these health benefits if they just go vegan? Well, for starters, it's just plain wrong. But David, you just said that going vegan gives you more energy and lowers your risk of getting cancer. Did I? The last one's a bit unrealistic, but the other two are totally possible. Yeah, maybe I did. But pay attention. But the other two are totally possible. It's totally possible to be more energetic and healthier as a vegan. You could reduce your risk of getting cancer, but it's not a guarantee. You could be a vegan who's morbidly obese and depressed, wishing you looked like Nima Delgado. Don't we all? Your health completely depends on which vegan products you eat, not just the fact that you're vegan. It's like saying anti-racism is healthy.
This is some groundbreaking news right here. Hey, did you guys know that if you sit around eating Oreos and drinking Diet Coke, you'll feel terrible? What is the average age of this guy's viewership? Okay, I know the average person doesn't like to think very much, so it's not beyond the imagination that some people will think, oh, so long as I'm going vegan, if I eat vegan products, I'll be healthy. These people need Jesus more than any other kind of person on the planet for having a fully functioning brain and refusing to put it to good use. The real problem is promoting a whole foods plant-based vegan diet. I think the only consumable allowed on a whole food plant-based vegan diet that is not deleterious to the human body is probably water. Should I take a break here and tell people that if you drink too much water, it can be bad for you? I'm genuinely concerned that this is something I might have to do. Let's remember, when we're considering eating vegan, it's about animal welfare. So any foods that an animal died in vain for should not be considered vegan. This would include any foods that have very little nutritional value or that provide little to no energy that animals die for us to have, especially the ones that we only eat for taste pleasure, because what would be the other reason for eating it if it's not actually doing anything for us? If we're considering the vegan diet as a healthy diet, whatever foods we eat should not cause pain or discomfort to the human body just for digesting it, or I should say attempting to digest it. I can't say I'm for putting indigestible things into your digestive system, especially not multiple times a day. A healthy diet should not include foods that prevent the body from performing its natural functions properly, and it should also not require supplementation to avoid things as serious as brain shrinkage. But again, this all depends on what your definition of healthy is and what kind of actions you would expect a person who is genuinely concerned with the welfare of animals to take.
You can be as healthy or healthier eating a well-balanced plant-based diet, but you could also be as healthy or healthier than you are now eating a 99.9% plant-based diet and eating scrambled eggs once a month. That's the problem with the go vegan for health argument. It falls to pieces when you realize somebody could eat mostly plants and be as healthy as someone who eats only plants.
I understand the point he's making here, but again, it depends on what you mean by healthy. If this person eating eggs or fish or the occasional steak is able to sustain this way of eating without having to rely on emergency medical intervention in order to maintain their health, I would say that person is healthier than the person who is 100% vegan, as vegans must rely on supplementation, especially if they're planning to eat vegan for the rest of their natural life. Also, I'll say this as many times as it needs to be said, a plant-based diet is to a vegan diet as fruit is to an apple. An apple is a kind of fruit, but not all fruits are apples. I have no proof of this, but I feel this is a tactic by vegans to conflate the two, so that when people look up a plant-based diet, they assume it means vegan. So if they see information that says a plant-based diet is the healthiest kind of diet a person can have, they will think, oh, a vegan diet is the healthiest diet a person can have. A plant-based diet includes animal products. It just does. If a vegan wants to gatekeep and say that if you consume animal products, you can't be vegan, then there's a clear distinction between the two.
Veganism isn't a health fad. I don't say stop eating eggs because it's bad for your health. That would be like saying don't kick this dog because they might bite you. The reason to stop eating eggs is the same as the reason to not kick a dog, because you're against animal cruelty.
So can I make a similar point about why it's not okay to eat soy? Because soy is very destructive to the environment, which indirectly harms animals and humans. And in order for us to grow it, scores of animals die incredibly torturous and painful deaths. Even if you want to say that soy is nutritious, eggs trump soy 10 times out of 10. So if we're not focusing on the nutritional aspect of the food and we're just focusing on the fact that animals suffered for us to get it, what foods are left for people to eat? And we're talking about sustaining human life here because this cannot be separated from the reason why we eat. Veganism is about what is practical and possible, is it not? Are we ignoring this when making our assessment too?
Veganism shouldn't be something people do for themselves, right? It's for the animals, right? I promised I was going to give you an opinion that you probably wouldn't like, that you might get annoyed at before. This is that time, guys. I think veganism is something people do for themselves. That's the one thing about the Veganism for Health message that actually makes sense. Appealing to people's selfish nature. In a world where people are happy to pay money for AI selfies and post them all over social media, in a world where over 800,000 people were happy for someone else to die so long as they got 10 grand, appealing to people's selfish nature is a pretty good tactic. It's easy to see why people get tempted to use health as a way of promoting veganism. But as we've already seen, it is flawed. It's just a matter of time before they slip back into their old diet and their old lifestyle, just like this ex-vegan bodybuilder did.
When something is as intellectually ass backwards as veganism, it's no surprise that vegans cannot help but resort to slimy tactics in order to get people to get on board with them. The interesting thing is, on the carnivore side, I can see a lot of influencers trying to do the same thing. You'll find pictures of them half naked on their thumbnail, and some people will think, wow, if I go carnivore, I'll look like them. For people who don't have applesauce for brains, the pop in circumstance means nothing. I don't want to live like these people. I don't want to look like these people. I want to be myself and do my own thing. What was more motivating to me was hearing the results of people who had similar problems to me and how they were resolved on a carnivorous style of eating. In contrast, many people suffer from the same, if not worse, problems on a vegan diet. So that's why I gave the keto carnivore way of eating a go. I guess David would say I'm being selfish too for daring to put my health ahead of other things. I have to admit, I don't fucking care. I'm not here to suffer. I'm not here to be in excruciating pain every day. And if increasing animal well-being is the point of veganism and a human is an animal, why can I not be concerned with my own well-being?
So guys, important to read my vegan food story. I'll be honest with you, not everyone knows my story of why I became a vegan, but it's time to share the story with you. Since I'm an athlete with a lot of training experience, for me, it's always been interesting to have a variety in nutrition. A year and a half ago, I set myself a challenge to prepare for my bodybuilding competitions using a vegan diet. My challenge exceeded my expectations, and I took the title of overall champion. I will not be able to continue this diet in the future, as my tests have deteriorated significantly in terms of indicators.
What tests and what indicators? Bullshit.
The minute you dismiss another person's lived experience without proof to the contrary is the minute you lose the right to have other people take you at your word when you say anything in relation to your lived experience. You say you're a vegan. Bullshit. Let's see. You're just saying that you are for the money or the attention. You say you're doing well on a vegan diet? Bullshit. Let's see. Show some proof of that. When faced with a person who says, I'm a bodybuilder and I'm doing so well on a vegan diet, I'm pushing X so hard, I break the controller. But I keep that disdain to myself and I let them tell their story because there's no fucking way I can know what the hell is going on with this person in their life. And if the appropriate response is, I don't believe you just because of my own personal incredulity and without any evidence to the contrary, it goes both ways and virtually nobody's stories are believable. And then there's no conversation to be had and there's nothing to be gained or learned.
For further growth and progress, I need a more varied diet. I really appreciate and respect everyone who brings benefit and kindness to this world and animals.
That's what happens when someone doesn't understand that veganism's not a bloody diet. Here's my solution. Appeal to people's selfish nature, but appeal to their selfish nature when it comes to them not wanting to be a bad person. It feels good to be good. It feels bad to know you're paying for animals that are more vulnerable than human children to be bred, abused, and killed for food you don't even need.
David makes an excellent point here. Just think of all the animals that are needlessly dying horrendous deaths. Think of the negative environmental impact your eating habits cause. And think of the humans who are experiencing egregious human rights violations for us to get things like avocados, almonds, soy, quinoa, onions, oats, kale, cashews, seed oils, synthetic vitamins, and so on. Not to mention the negative impact these quote-unquote foods have on your system. You take these two things and you weigh them. Whichever side you fall on is the side you're comfortable being on. So if a vegan doesn't feel bad for eating spinach, I don't feel bad for eating eggs.
Tell the truth about what happens to animals. Explain how you can be just as healthy as you are now on a plant-based diet and even healthier if you put a bit of effort in.
I appreciate the disclaimer. All hope's not lost after all, but what is the effort? Not bastardizing the plant-based diet by eliminating the one healthful source of food in it to begin with?
And ask the question, why would you want to continue to be part of all of the violence?
I don't. That's why when I eat the occasional tomato, or drink the occasional can of beer, I sometimes feel guilty because I know I don't need those, because I'm only eating them for the taste pleasure, because they're not doing a single positive thing for me, while at the same time they are causing calamity in my body. And, to top it all off, animals died for me to have them. If the guilt lies anywhere, it's there.
I don't, and that's why after 13 years, I'm still vegan.
Bullshit.